Back after.
Woo! Okay. Hey guys,
Hello.
welcome back to another episode of Just Like Us. I'm your host, Justin Bird. This is my lovely lady, Leti Zito.
Hello. Welcome
Welcome
in.
in, you guys.
Thank you for everyone joining us live and to all those who will join us later for the replay. Welcome in again.
Yes.
We're glad that you're here.
Yes, thank you guys for joining us. Okay, so in this episode, we're going to be talking about the power of forgiveness and what a power this is. I feel that, when you're able to forgive,
Mm,
you're lightening the load, so to speak. You're not giving that other person who may be on the reciprocating end for whatever it is that you're going through that power.
mm,
I mean, let's face it, if you have anger or resentment towards somebody, they have power over you. They have some kind of hold on you that's
yeah.
not allowing you to move forward. So, the power of forgiveness is just that. It's extremely powerful, and it allows
Mm,
that space and just that a little bit of load lightening, so to speak. So you can lighten your load and keep pushing forward. It doesn't allow
yeah.
them to harness something on you that it's important for us to be able to forgive. So
Yeah.
letting go to move forward.
Cool.
So, and again, it's 2025. We don't have room for looking back. It's really, yeah, let's move forward. Let's continue to move forward and grow and
Mm,
have the strength to push forward and not let anything or anyone, allow us to have to step back for any reason. Let's just keep moving forward.
mm,
It's one thing to look back at things and reflect, but it's another to let things keep you back and
right.
hold you back from
Yeah,
moving forward.
definitely.
So,
Agree.
and holding on to resentment or guilt keeps us stuck.
Mm,
And so in this episode, we're going to uncover the transformation and power of forgiveness
mm,
for others and how, to clear a path to freedom. Because I mean,
mm,
essentially, that's what we're doing is we're clearing a path for us to be free of anything that could be, you know, uh, keeping us chained up, so to
yeah.
speak, in our mind,
Mm,
spiritually. These things are important. It's important to have clarity, and then with, the ability to forgive. It's not always easy. Let's face it. I mean, it's sometimes it's a very difficult thing to
right.
actually, to come and do. So yeah,
Yes.
let's dive into what we can do to be able to forgive for the things that are holding us back. So yeah, again, thank you for joining us. Um, Go ahead.
I mean, I was just going to ask, what one thing did you have to forgive yourself for, and how did you do it?
Good question. This is actually a pretty vulnerable, answer that I'm going to be giving,
Yeah.
and I think it's authentic, and if my vulnerability is a superpower. I feel so. Um, I've had to forgive myself for not being as a better father
Mm,
for my children, and in order to forgive myself, I really had to dig deep,
yeah.
and I think it's been an important task for me to be able to accomplish, a
Mm,
goal, or it's something that I myself have to do to forgive yourself. I mean, who else is
mm,
gonna do it for you if you're not
right.
yourself?
Right.
And so, I ended up choosing substance,
Mm,
and that's kind of a harsh way to put it, but I mean, really, when you look at it, if you were to ask the person on the other end,
mm,
my daughter in this case, it would definitely seem like that's what someone would do, is like you're choosing something over being around me. And if this may be a touchy subject, but I
yeah.
just want to be raw and real and say that
Mm,
this is, it was very important for me to be able to forgive myself, because if I was to beat myself about it,
mm,
instead of reflecting and learning, then
yeah.
I probably wouldn't be here today. I'd probably be, who knows, but
Mm,
I allowed myself the, that to learn from this, and not let
mm,
this be something that holds me down. I wasn't as good father as I could have been, but I am here now, and I didn't let it hold me down and keep me back. I
mm,
embraced it and said, this is something that I need to really, address head on, and,
mm,
make sure that, I'm real with myself, And with my daughter, I remember when we came back into each other's life.
Mm.
I told her, I said, whatever it takes, I'm gonna be as honest as I can be. I mean, like 100%. And she asked me something, and it was I was just brutally honest about what she asked me about, and I told her, unfortunately, I was having substance is a very powerful thing, and it can really get a grip on you.
Yeah.
And by no means was I trying to make excuses for anything, but I let her know. I said I would. It was a path that the farther away I got, it seemed like it was the easier to
Mm.
deal with, which was on the contrary.
Mm.
It was the farther away I got, it was like the easier it was to get more substance use,
Yeah.
more wrapped into something to keep me from the reality of
Mm.
dealing with pain and the guilt and
Yeah.
whatever it was that I was going through, not to step back up to the plate. There's a lot to it, but the fact is there was somebody who was hurt, and that person was not just myself, but my
Yeah.
daughter, and she took the brunt end of it. And
Mm.
she but I was able to forgive myself and say, look, I know that I haven't always been the best dad, but I know how great of a person that I am, and I know how great of a father that I am as well. And there's no excuse. I don't need to continue to live in the past and beat
Mm.
myself up and say, hey, coulda, shoulda, woulda. It's time. And even after I came back around, I still ended up getting back into substance. But again, I'm not letting anything hold me back,
Mm.
and I think it was important for me to be able to forgive myself, because again, I think it would be so easy to get caught up in my own head,
Mm.
and to get in that dark
Yes.
space of like, you
Yes.
know, I was there, and I don't think it was healthy. I think it was
Mm.
very unhealthy for me to play this, over my head, like
Yeah.
how bad of a dad I was, and how, what I could do better. And I had to really just face it head on and say, all right, let's do this. I know I wasn't the best dad, but I'm gonna start now.
Mm.
I'm actually gonna start right now to being a good father. And it was just taking the first steps to being able to forgive myself, and not have to feel like I
Mm.
had to live with this and something that's going to keep me back. And I feel great about that, because
Yeah.
some people don't ever, some people go their whole life and don't ever actually give themselves an opportunity to do that, to
Yeah.
say, hey, you know what, you got to be good with yourself. You got to be your biggest fan, your biggest star player, and make sure that you're showing up the best you for you, because who else is going to show up like you for you?
Mm.
You got to be able to put that oxygen mask on, and get in there and do what you have to do. So
Yeah.
it was important for me to be able to look in the mirror and say, I love who I am. I have some things that I can change, some things that I can better, and I have a
Mm.
lot of work. I'm never going to stop learning. And that was important, and that
Yeah.
allowed me the space to be able to move forward and continue to to be where I'm at today. And that's living. I'm actually living
Mm.
my best life ever. It's not perfect, but I'm
Right.
living the best life that I've ever lived, and
Yeah.
that's by choice. I'm making the decisions, and pushing the things out that I don't need,
Mm.
and keeping the things around me that I love, that love me, that are good for me. So,
Right.
and I think it was important for me to be able to forgive myself.
Mm.
So, on that note, and I'm going to ask the same thing. What is
Yeah.
something that you can
Mm.
say that you've had in your life that you were able to, or someone that you were able to forgive in order to kind of set the tone for yourself and create a
Mm.
path so that you're able to move forward?
Wow. I think for me, one of the toughest people to forgive was myself.
Mm.
I, held myself to, such a high standard that I couldn't even achieve it, and I held other people to that invisible standard too. And I mean, it was just this perpetual cycle of, not of living in the past, of reminding myself what I had done. And if I was reminding myself what I had done and living in that, then I was also, telling myself stories about other people and, what they were doing to me, you know. And what I've learned, right, is that forgiveness it's essential. It's essential to keep the negative away. Otherwise, you're just going to stay stuck living the same day over and over again, the same story over and over. You block off everything from you when you don't forgive. I think fear has a lot to do with not forgiving.
Mm.
Fear of, it happening again. Fear of, you know, your needs not getting met. Fear of then stepping out into opportunities that can bless you and help you to grow, because you're afraid. You've been carrying this baggage with you, into days, weeks, months, years, and one way that I was able to start, letting go of some of that was telling myself a different story about it, right? For me, things that happened to me hurt my self-worth a lot, and my self-confidence, and touched on all the insecurities that I had been struggling with, my whole life. And that was the story that I kept repeating to myself and telling myself, this is why this keeps happening to me, this is why this person and that person keeps doing this and that to me. And I had to start looking at it from a different angle, right? If I was going to let go of it. So my first thing was asking myself, what about that can I let go? Just one small thing, and telling myself that what they did wasn't even about me in the first place. I wasn't doing it. The person was, right? It didn't have anything to do with me, and I can remember this time. I had a conversation with my mom, after she got into recovery. And she said to me, if ever you have something that comes up that you feel like I've done to you, I just want you to be able to come to me and tell me. I don't care what, time it is, day or night. I want you to be able to come and say, this thing that you did or you said hurt my feelings, or made me feel this way. And that was a game changer for our relationship, right? It was just her acknowledging, right, that forgiveness is a two-way street. The other person has to, be able to receive that forgiveness for themselves too. Not just the giver, but the receiver, has to be able, has to have the capacity, right, to give and receive it. And for years I didn't have the capacity to forgive. Why? Because I didn't even forgive myself, right?
Right.
I just kept torturing myself with things I had done, which is why it led me to continue to hurt myself,
Right.
And continue to hurt myself and to continue to betray myself,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And we don't have to do that today.
Yeah.
We don't have to do that today. We can be true to ourselves, because I feel like when we're true to ourselves, we allow other people to be true to themselves. It gives, we give each other permission,
Yes.
to
Like
do that.
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah,
like that's how
absolutely.
it's been,
That's dope.
that's how
Yeah.
it's working
so
for
tight.
me when I
Yeah.
finally stepped into, okay, I can look at, what I've done, and then start looking at my part. What did I do, to create this environment?
Right. Yeah.
And how can I, create a different environment, right?
Yeah.
How can I step out of this one and step into a new one?
Yeah.
First of all, I had to stop believing those stories that I had to interrupt those stories that I was telling myself and start asking myself, could it be something else? Could it be this? And then, I was able to, kind of unravel, right, all the years of lies that I told me. We lie so much to ourselves, that we start to believe them, which just, perpetuates the unforgiveness.
Right.
And it's not even the truth anymore. We've lied so much. And so, I mean, there were so many things I had to look at, and things that I didn't forgive myself for, and I think, even one exercise, like, that I've like to try out and have been trying out. I did it, even with my partners, just saying like, I forgive you, even if in the beginning I didn't feel it and I didn't mean it. I knew, as I practiced it, it would come.
Right. Yeah.
Sometimes just the words coming out of your mouth, I forgive
Getting
you.
comfortable with saying it and being it,
Right.
right? Just
And
start
being
somewhere.
it, right.
Right, yeah.
Has been a game changer for us. And that doesn't mean that there isn't times where we're like, but for the most part, we're always able to come back.
Yeah.
Right. Come back to center, come back and look to God and ask him for forgiveness,
Right.
and ask him to give us the forgiveness, right, for the other people we've wronged and have wronged us.
Right.
Right. We're
Yeah, absolutely.
We get that opportunity.
Yeah. And I mean, let's face it, it could be exhausting, holding on to like a grudge or something, like
So
it could be exhausting. And here's my thing is like, okay, so I'm gonna give a story. One time in Idaho, we had a very a scary incident happen where some people ended up coming to our home. And long story short, I won't get into the details. I got very hurt. I was carried out on a stretcher, and my buddies from where I grew up were asking, well, where can we find them? Let's come up to this. And I didn't want anything to do with any kind of revenge. I didn't, in fact, having the people I grew up with want to come up and so to speak handle it. It scared me because this was a scary thing that happened, and I was so afraid of people. But I found that, well, first of all, I found myself barricaded in my house after this incident occurred. I was like in my house, and like I was so afraid of going outside. It was the first time I've ever felt this, and it was so impactful that I just didn't want to go outside at all. But I found that I didn't want to let these people who did this have that power over me, because I felt like it was like I was afraid. I was afraid of anything. I was afraid to go outside. And this isn't something that I'd like to admit, but I'm just being vulnerable and honest, you guys. Like, it was one of the scariest things that I've ever experienced. And I felt like the more that I give energy to like being angry or upset or not forgiving, the more power I was giving these people that, potentially could have harmed me very, very much. And I said, I told myself, I said, if I end up meeting or seeing these people, I'm going to give them a hug and tell them I love them, because that's how I am. Because the kind of person I am is I do love people. And it may be something that would be a hard feat. And people are like, how? Why? Like, are you sure? And I said, yes, I know me. I know me. I know me. And I know the power of the mind. I know the power of the heart. And it would be me just being me, being able to forgive. And I feel like that was so powerful for me to be able to say it to myself. And I started working my way out of my scared, afraid in my head, just full of fear. And so being able to forgive these people, it was a huge task. And it also was my therapy to myself, because I didn't go and get, actual, therapy or any help for this, like professionally. But I started working the steps in my own mind, in my own heart, in my own body, and saying, in order for me to be able to overcome this and to forgive these people, I really have to forgive within and say, you know what, I wasn't excusing anything, but I was okay with the fact that I'm still alive. I'm still here. My family's safe. And it was super important and extremely, I needed to be able to harness this, what I would have considered potential hate for somebody that could have almost killed me, and to make this the opposite and make it a power that I can deal with on my own, so that I'm not stuck in my house, so that I'm not fearing people, so that I'm not holding a grudge saying, if these people didn't come do this, I wouldn't da da da. And it was powerful because I came out on top. I don't have the fear of this. I don't have this doubt with people and thinking people are could potentially come do this again. I've dealt with it in my own mind, in my own way, and I've been able to forgive them, to the fullest. And again, it's just a light. It's made my load that much lighter, so that I don't have to carry that grudge or that hate or that fear with me anymore, because it's not easy. It's not easy to overcome a fear of something like that when somebody's, they almost killed me. And I think it was important for me to be able to continue moving forward in me as a person. Because I mean, can you just imagine if I would let this overcome me and like been had hate for people, I wouldn't be the typical me that most of you know. You know what I mean? Loving, caring, you know, outgoing, energetic, you know, spontaneous,
Yeah.
like the life of the party for real. You know what I mean? Like many that know me know that's how I am. Like I'm bringing life to anywhere I'm coming. I'm bringing super light. Like this is how I am. I love people and I uplift myself so that I can do the same for others. And it's important. And forgiving this party that had, you know, their hand in potentially hurting me and my family, it was important. And I'm glad that I was able to make this happen, because nobody's gonna do it for me but me. I had to be able to be the one to put that oxygen mask on and say, hey, it's time. It's time. I'm not
Right.
gonna hold any hate or grudge or anything toward people that a lot of people might just find themselves doing, you know. And again, I'm not saying I'm any better. I'm just saying I found out how I can work the steps for myself, and it started within me to be able to forgive for one of the most heinous things you could think of. I mean, it was really, it was bad. But I want people to know that I love myself enough to not let that be something that holds me back, and continue to move forward for you know for more days to come. And my son sees these kind of things and sees that, you know, I have a lot of power in being able to, you know, because there's sometimes where, you know, even like Letty and I, we have, you know, our times where we need to really get centered and focused. And forgiveness is probably the first and most important thing we could do. If you know, you don't want to be laid up and wish that, you know, you could talk to this person. That's something I told Letty earlier was, you know, we don't want to be, you know, struggling. Or I told her, I said, there's parents that are like in hospitals right now with their babies and that are struggling for life. And, you know, I don't want to feel anything but good when it comes my time. I want people to know that I have goodness in me, and I don't want to, you know, have any I guess ties loose, or what do you say,
Loose ends.
loose ends. Thank you. I don't want to have anything that I'm, you know, I don't want to look back and regret. And so forgiving, I think, is a very powerful tool that we can all utilize. And being able to look back and say, I don't have any hatred or you know, harnessing any hurt, you know, for someone. I was able to forgive myself and forgive them as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that it is powerful. And sometimes, you know, you do have to look at, you know, I know for me, I experienced anger and frustration and, you know, jealousy and envy and grief, you know, while I was sitting in my closet, you know, wondering what is all this stuff coming up, right? It's stuff that I needed to forgive myself for first before I could forgive anybody else. And sometimes, you know, things, you know, come up and it just means going, you know, into yourself in a deeper level, you know, and sometimes things come out right of your mouth towards other people, but what I'm realizing is it's just it's fear. I haven't, you know, I haven't surrendered it enough yet. You know, it's not about going back for me today. It's not about going back and staying there. You know, it's about going back and saying, okay, where is this still showing up in my life? Or why is this still showing up in my life? And going even deeper, like, what are the thoughts that I'm having about it? Where am I feeling this in my body? What is going on around me? Right. Because before I was just tossed by like the littlest emotions, right? And would go off because I didn't know how to handle them. And I've been to lots of counseling. I've been, I've shared things with people, and it's a process. I mean, I know we hear this so much, right? Trust the process, you know, and learning how to manage your emotions, you know. But when they're so out of control, it's like, where do you start? I started in, you know, in a conversation with God, because I had tried so many other things before, and here I was again, right, with even more unforgiveness, because I had added more guilt and shame and, you know, anger to the mix. And you know, God helped me see how much He loved me first. I allowed Him to love me first, and then, you know, I allowed that love to, maybe I can forgive myself, you know. Yes, I did some things I'm not proud of, you know. Those unhealed parts of me were in straight up reaction mode, all
Right.
day
Yeah.
long. You know, they
Yeah.
really were.
Right. Yeah.
Like I reacted to everything triggered me, you know, the way the tree was moving. I mean, you know, that's how it really was,
Right. Yeah.
you know. And you know, there's a quote that I like that says, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And it is,
Mm.
you know, even forgiveness is a mindset. You know, letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean it leaves your memory. It just means the sting of it
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
leaves, and you can move forward. You know, you can move into your purpose and into your power, right? Sometimes unforgiveness, I think, you know, keeps us prisoners, and it keeps us silent. You know, you
Yeah.
talked about, you know, not wanting to go outside. Like that's how I was. You remember, I didn't want to go anywhere,
Right. Yeah. It's difficult, because
you know.
not being able to trust others, that could be a problem. I mean, well, the way the world is, it's
Mm,
so difficult now already. Like it's just, but it doesn't have to stay that way because, um, you know, being able to move forward is just that, not staying in the past because it just giving someone else that power of not being able to move forward, even if they're
mm,
not around you, and you still have that, the mindset of like
yeah.
this next person is going to do me wrong.
Mm,
I think that's going to hold us back. Period. And
yeah.
there's more to life than holding on to things because I'm not
Mm,
saying it's a waste of time, but you could do better with your time and your energy than sitting back and allowing that to fester inside you. Let's
ooh,
keep it moving.
it's
Make sure that
dangerous.
it's not something that holds you back because
Yeah.
we are driving this vessel. We are the ones. God is powerful, and He's in everything we do, every cell of
Mm,
our body, everything that we do. God is here with us, and it's up to us to make sure that we steer this vessel
mm,
correctly, meaning that we eat right, we do good by to ourselves and
mm,
others. And
yeah.
I think part of our growth is not allowing things to hold us back. You fall,
Mm,
you get up. You have fallout with somebody, forgive them.
mm,
There's so much power in forgiving because let's face it, you don't know when your day could
mm,
be, the end. And
you don't.
it's very important to have that, that mental awareness of nobody's going to do it for me. If I have something that I'm
Mm,
harnessing, that's just that little bit of weight that could
oof,
carry on. And if it's like the backpack effect, if you're walking with this stress in your backpack, at first it's not going to be so heavy. It's not really a burden. But if you keep
oh,
walking, if
yeah.
you're walking uphill, if you're already facing life, if you're already dealing with things that are like almost unbearable, and then you
Mm,
have this weight of this little bit of stress that you have just on something that just every now and then comes up. And after a long couple miles with his backpack on, you're going to start feeling
yeah.
it. And again, it's
Yeah.
just an analogy to say that little bit, if there's one or two or 10, or
Mm,
some of us may have 20 people that we have hate for, or a grudge, or like just we don't like, or don't give that any more power. Just in your
mm,
own place, in your own heart, in your own mind,
yeah.
forgive them for yourself. Even if it's something that's unforgivable. The
Mm,
worst case scenario, I mean, somebody were to do the work. I know in my heart that I would be able to forgive someone because
mm,
I've done it. And that doesn't make me any kind of superhero, or doesn't make me better than you.
mm,
I'm just saying I have mentally been able to myself, been able to say,
mm,
I'm not going to allow this to keep me down. And it's not for them, it's for me. So for
mm,
whatever's done
yeah.
to me, I have the power to say, I'm not going to let that, you know,
Mm,
keep me down but for 1 second, because it's easy to do. It
oh,
is. Let's
yeah.
face it, it's easy to really, get down about things, and like the person that you may have trusted that
Mm,
could have done you wrong. Well, don't forgive them for them. I mean, of course, we like to, we want to overcome stuff. You don't want to let things hold you back, but
yeah.
forgive them for you, so that you're not allowing them to have that power over you and keeping you from the fullest potential that
Mm,
you can be.
right.
Make these moves
Yeah.
today. Make sure that you're able to look within and really sit with your thoughts and forgive somebody. If there's something that
Mm,
somebody may have done wrong to you, forgive them. Meaning, think of the good, what came from whatever it
mm,
was. I'm not telling you how to do things. I'm just suggesting that it's a whole lot easier and a lighter load if you're not harnessing hate
mm,
or guilt or any kind of
or
feelings that come with,
shame. Yeah.
that the unforgiving. You want to be able to allow this your space to have your life be the best you can be, and
Mm,
holding on to things that you cannot forgive is just one less thing that you need. So let's make this 2025 a year to forgive
mm,
and be able to move forward with life for whatever it is.
yeah. And let that forgiveness start with you. Maybe some of you need to, you know, forgive, yourself. Maybe you need to, forgive God. Maybe there's, it's a process, right? It's definitely a process. It doesn't happen overnight. There's steps that, happen during that process,
Right.
or things that come up for you that, and by all means, if you need to talk to somebody, do it. Like I said, it's a process, right? There's seeds that get planted,
Absolutely.
right?
Yes.
And we don't have to carry this alone,
Right.
unless we want to,
Right.
but we don't have to. We get to share that process with other people,
Right. Yeah.
and sometimes you don't have to share that process with the person that you need to forgive right out of the gate,
Right. Yeah.
right? You want to be able to truly, process it for yourself
Right.
first.
Yeah. And we're saying this because a lot of you are just like us. We're saying this
Mm.
from experience. We know that through the power of what we just talked about,
Mm.
like we can all do this. And again, many of you are just like us. That's why it's a topic that we can discuss and know what we're talking about. Because again, like what we have gone through ourselves is no different than anything that you guys have gone through. We're no better,
Right.
But being able to speak about it is the first step. Being able to talk about it and sit with it and be able to deal with it however you need. This is very important. Let's lighten our load.
Yeah.
Let's make this a year that
Yeah.
we don't look back. Continue
Mm.
moving forward and don't hold on to grudges. Make sure that you're able to, at least first of all, from yourself, start to forget. You get to that mindset of like, I don't want to hold on to hate anymore. That's it. I just want to let it go. I don't want
Start
anyone
talking
to.
to it and
Yeah.
saying just that. Like, I found that to be really helpful for me, right? Like, I don't want to hold on to this. I want to let go of this.
Right.
Show me how to do that, right?
Yes.
And the answers will come when you start asking, seeking, and knocking. The
True.
answers will start coming,
Right.
right? So hold on.
Yes.
There's hope for
Right.
you. When you're ready, it'll be there. It really
Yes.
will.
Absolutely.
And we love all of you.
We
We
love
thank
you
you
very
for
much. Yes.
all your love and support, for joining in on this live with us and
Yes.
allowing us the space, to come and share what we know, what we have experienced
Right.
for
Yeah. And add
ourselves.
value. We feel like we add value. I know that in my eyes, I feel like I am a person who does add value,
Mm.
and it may be a biased opinion, but I really do. I get a lot of feedback from people, and they say, they give me compliments on what I'm able to do, and
Yeah.
that's give some
Mhm.
positive affirmation and feedback. And so yeah, we thank you guys for being part of this, and this is a journey that we are in with you guys, and we're glad that a lot of you are just like us. And on that note, we are going to call it a night. And until Friday, which is our next episode,
Friday.
we can't wait to see you guys. And we
5
love you
o'clock.
guys. Make sure you tune in, and we'll see you then.
Yeah. See
Love you
you.
guys.
Love you.
Peace.